Greetings. You're listening to Rebels Remembered, featuring Caitlin DeFord and Kelsey DeFord.
Unexpectedly, Agent Callus' Star Destroyer drops out of hyperspace and brings both the transport and the Ghost to its docking base, bringing a trap he had set for the rebels. Zingala tells Bridger he needs to board the transport and warn the others. So that was part one, which kind of ends on really weird when you split them up. So at Hera's little monologue, she has urges Ezra to board the ship and help him out. Because they don't know it's a trap they're walking into.
Yeah. And then she tells Ezra, you need to help them. And he's like, why? Why should I help them? And I think that's when she tells him, because Kanan risked his life to save yours. So it's kind of like, and I don't want to say like an eye for an eye, but
you owe him, basically.
And of course, Ezra being the anomaly and for myself, I never stick my neck out for anybody. Again, is something, like you said, carries through the show. Not just season 1, I believe. I think carries throughout the show. Because I just realized why she wanted him to go rescue them. We've kind of skipped over that. Was because, wasn't the Empire jamming their signal because they figured it out or something?
Yeah, she learns that it's a trap because she can't get in contact with them.
Okay, that's what it was, yeah.
I think Ezra goes in, warns them, and then we have this really cool scene where Sabine shuts off the artificial gravity.
That is one of my favorite moments in the show because I could be wrong because, like I said, I haven't seen all of Clone Wars. Don't shoot me with a blaster, but I don't think there's any other anti-gravity moment we have in any Star Wars ever. That I can
Maybe
think of.
Clone Wars, but I don't.
Like I said, it could be wrong. It could be in Clone Wars, but I thought it was cool. And then we run into one of the controversial moments in the fandom.
Really?
At the time.
Yeah.
At the time it aired, was where they're running, trying to go escape, and poor Ezra gets captured, and Zeb just says, "You were a good kid," and just leaves him. Which I felt bad for Zeb because I feel like he got hate for that. But he just met this kid.
Yeah.
May I just point out?
But how easy would it have been to go, "Hey, dudes, he got grabbed. Let's go fight. Let's go get him." Because Lulu two Stormtroopers around him. So
I think he got grabbed by Callus, I believe, and yeah.
Oh, another thing about Callus, you know what I'm gonna say. His helmet is so distracting to me because every time I saw that character, and David, what's his last name?
I cannot pronounce that man's last name.
David Whaley. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it. He does a really good job with you, but he looks like he's got a spaghetti stringer ball on his head.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys ever made spaghetti, you know what I'm talking about. It was very distracting.
I wonder if that was a design choice, because I can't think of any other officer that has that helmet.
I can't really off the top of my head, but that was...
Of course, Ezra gets grabbed, the ghost gets away, and then Hera's like, well, look at him, Ezra's doing good. And Kanan's like, yeah, he did good. And then they don't realize he's missing until poor Zeb has to say, yeah, he got grabbed.
And I feel bad for Zeb, because if you have memories of as a kid when you've done something but you don't want to tell your parents that, hey, this happened.
Yeah, go ahead.
It'd be not as it's superficial, but it'd be your parents are driving you to school and you live an hour away and they're about to drop you off I left my backpack. And you knew it 10 minutes into the drive but didn't want to say anything. Yeah. They get mad and have to drive you back, kind of thing.
And then Hera calls him by his full name, Gary Zeb Aurelios.
Yeah.
Full name. Okay. He's really in trouble.
So, meanwhile, as that's going on, as they're trying to figure out, how to get back to him and what they're going to do, Bridger's being held in a prison cell. He's approached by an agent who tells him that the Empire is going to use him as bait because he doesn't believe anyone will risk their lives to come get him.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me is, clearly abandonment issues that will pop up randomly. And also, confidence issues. You would think Ezra's, with all this braggadocious kind of thing, would think more of himself than just, no one's going to come back for me. I wouldn't come back for me, kind of thing.
Well, I think it's also because he's, like I said, he's grown up with people are in it for themselves. They're not in it to help each other.
Yeah.
So
It's also the first time that they ask him what his name is, and he goes with Jabba the Hutt, which is a character that first appeared in Empire Strikes Back.
yes,
Or is it Return of the Jedi?
oh wait,
Yeah, it's
he's
Return of the Jedi.
mentioned in
He's
Empire Strikes
mentioned
Back, and I think he was supposed to have a scene
in A New Hope.
that was cut.
That's
Yeah,
good, yeah. I do wonder where Ezra heard the name, but I think honestly it's just a callback
yeah,
to that character. So also Ezra has the holocron with him. That's I guess with his things that his backpack that he wears, and he's sitting there, and you see that thing kind of rise up and open. And
yeah.
who is in it, Caitlin?
My favorite character of all time, Obi-Wan Kenobi, which basically tells Ezra, not Ezra, but Jedi in general, I'll say Ezra loosely because that's who he's talking to at the moment, not to return to the temple because it's a trap and the Jedi need to go into hiding, which at the time hearing that, I was like, wow, I never saw Obi-Wan telling them this. And then come to find out later when I went back and, watched the prequels, there's a moment where he says, he tells, there's a very brief scene where he says, I've told reset the holocron or something.
Beamed a message out.
Beamed a
or
message,
something.
yeah, that's the word I'm trying to think of. And that's the message he beamed out. So.
I do wonder, Ezra's kind of like amazed by it. Probably the fact that one, it's floating, two, it's playing a message, but also like, if he understands, he probably doesn't because he grew up after the Empire took over.
Yeah.
But when he says like the Republic has fallen, the Jedi Order have fallen, like he probably doesn't understand what happened or.
I don't know, he might with his parents being what they were. Want to stand up against the Empire. Makes you wonder.
Mm.
I just thought it was cool that we basically took a piece of canon, if you want to call it that. Like that's the message that Obi-Wan beamed out to the Jedi. And if you're smart, you would know, okay, Kanan has this holocron with this message in it, therefore equals Jedi.
So anyway, he gets that message. They argue about whether to rescue him. This is sad. Zeb and Sabine both vote to leave him behind.
Yeah.
Sabine says, we don't have a chance. It's like a suicide mission, basically. While Chopper, surprisingly, and Hera want to go rescue him. And that's when she says, Kanan, you have the deciding vote. It's got that push in. Like, what's he gonna say? Like, honestly, if he voted no, the series would end. But anyway, so in the meantime, Bridger tricks the stormtroopers. He learns that the Ghost Crew has rescued him, and he learns more about where the Wookiees are taken.
He also picks up his helmet.
Yeah.
That he eventually paints. And it's throughout the series.
Hmm.
I don't know if you remember that. The Imperial helmet he steals or whatever. Something little tidbit I noticed.
The group flees as Kallus and stormtroopers pursue. The ship takes off just as Sabine ignites an explosion as it nearly sucks Kallus into space. So they turn on the shields and he's okay.
There's a lot of exhaust vents that get blown out in this show. In general. A lot of explosions.
Now this is when we finally learn when they are like in hyperspace and Hera's talking to Ezra and he reveals he doesn't have a family.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, we all knew, but I guess the Ghost Crew wasn't aware of that information. He also says that the Wookiees are being held on the spice mines of Kessel. Which, I don't know if that's a callback to A New Hope with the Kessel Run in how many parsecs? I don't know. Someone's going to comment and be like, this many parsecs, and it's at this point in the movie.
And Ezra learned that information while he was in the cell, right?
Yeah, he picked it up. When he picked up the helmet, he overheard it and talking. Okay, so they decide they're going to rescue these Wookiees off the spice mines of Kessel. Before we get into this, again, I don't like how the Wookiees are animated. I think most people didn't. Not just a nitpick, but it clearly looks like their fur is painted on. It's just a really wonky looking, I think.
Yep. So as they're there trying to rescue the Wookiees, unfortunately, maybe it's not the helmet that he takes, because doesn't Kallus pick it up and realizes that Ezra overheard their conversation about Kessel?
Oh. Yeah, maybe.
And he's like, oh, that's where they're going. So then they show up, because the Empire always seems to know where they're going. Seems like. I guess without it, we wouldn't have a good story.
I do really like the music that Kiner does here with the like when the troopers coming out of the tie with Callus, and he's like the take them down kind of thing. I like that part because I'm just nerding out about it.
The music.
The music there.
So basically, they're pinned. Kanan says we're running a 22 pickup. Which again, the ghost again has this unspoken communication. Zeb understands it. Sabine understands it. I think it's absolutely crazy. And that's my favorite line is Ezra says, Kara let me in on the secret. And Kanan says, I'm about to let everyone in on the secret. Which for me, I don't want to say I was dumb. But I was like, what is he talking about?
You're listening to Rebels Remembered.
So the 22 pickup would probably mean they get in the cargo container. So I think Zeb and some Wookiees get into a cargo container that the ghost is going to like pick up with a magnetic lock or something.
Well, the 22 pickup, I believe, was also referring to, I feel like, and I could be wrong, because, Kanan is very, very hesitant to use his lightsaber to reveal that he's a Jedi. So I feel like 22 pickup for me, if I'm looking at it wrong, I don't know, is code for we're in a tight situation, so here's the last resort.
Oh, okay.
And that's when I think Zeb says, are you crazy? Or Sabine says, are you crazy? And that's when Ezra says, Kara let me in on the secret.
So after this, the secret is, of course, Kanan grabs both ends of his lightsaber, puts them together, and ignites it. And that's when Callus says to fire on, and he kind of stammers a bit like, on the Jedi. Because these people haven't seen a Jedi in probably 20 years, probably longer for some people. Or shorter, depending on how people are. But,
oh yeah, here it is. 22 pickup. You're right. A maneuver where the crew Wookiees will hide inside a... How would they know all of that from 22 pickup?
like I said, this is unspoken communication. Like, did they hand out dictionaries?
Exactly.
Here's your Rebels guidebook.
I looked at that as, I've been looking at that wrong this entire time. I could have sworn it was tight situation, I'm going to have to pull my lightsaber out.
Maybe it could be. It could be. I don't know. Of course, after they start firing, Kanan, being the Jedi that he is able to deflect a lot of their fire. Because he's deflecting the fire, the others get to sort of flee, get the Wookiees out of there. In the meantime, Ezra's trying to trying to get Kitwar, who's a little bitty Wookiee kid. Creepy looking, I'm sorry. So he runs off to pursue him. And then Bridger chases Kitwar.
Okay, so at this time, Zeb, Sabine, and the other Wookiees are in the container, which Hera's picking up.
Yeah.
And then Ezra runs off to save Kitwar, the little Wookiee baby. Which, again, there's a part, if you go back and watch it, there's a part where he comes across the stormtrooper, jumps in the air, does a flip, shoots his slingshot, knocks the stormtrooper off the thing, and then he runs over to Kitwar and looks at his bracelets, because, all the Wookiees are in these bracelets, and stares at it like, for a good minute, feels like. I'm like, you just unlocked all the Wookiee bracelets.
I didn't think about that.
And I guess it just to give time to Callus to see him for the next part, but he looks at him like, if you watch him, like, dude, you just
unlocked quite a bit of them. Like, I believe.
Why are you staring at it for like a good minute? Yeah. Anyway, just something that bugged me.
Yeah. Of course, Callus sees Ezra jump over this person, so he clearly thinks that, oh, I've got a Padawan and a Master Jedi. Yeah, I didn't think about that, how he stared at the bracelet. He's already unlocked some of the other Wookiees' bracelets. So
he unlocks the bracelet, and then Callus has to show up and ruin everything. And then he says the moment where he says, a master and an apprentice, such a rare find these days. Of course, referring to him and Kanan. Then Kanan shows up on top of the ghost with a lightsaber, deflects a blast, hits Callus and the other stormtrooper off the ledge. And then Ezra and Kitwar jump onto the ghost, and they fly away to safety. Which, to me, that's another thing that bothers me animation-wise. Again, it's probably just budgeting, but he's like, you guys need to jump or whatever. And they jump, and then they're just gone. You don't see them on top of the ghost or anything. They're just not there when it takes off.
I do like the part when has Callus kicking that guy, that stormtrooper, like he's dangling off the ledge on a little pillar. And the stormtrooper's like, first time seeing a Jedi? And he just kicks him. And he has, of course, the Wilhelm scream. Famous scream that's being used in the films. And I'm like, yeah, we just saw a guy die. That guy's not okay.
Well, I mentioned that to Dad when I was watching it with him, and his response was, well, they got more of them.
I mean, fair point.
So
Course,
Kitwar and his dad are reunited. It's a sweet little moment between Wookiee Daddy and Wookiee Son.
I do like Kitwar's scream. That always makes me laugh. I don't know why. Because I guess the animation's bad.
So after the mission completed, the Ghost Crew goes back to Lothal to take Ezra back. And of course, there's a cute, sweet little moment between Ezra and Zeb where he's like, guess we'll see you around, or see you guys, or whatever. And then Zeb says, not if we see it first. And he punches him playfully, but Zeb, being him, hurts him. He's like, don't worry, I won't. And he gets off the ship, and Zeb's confused. Like, I felt so bad for him.
Of course, then we have Bridger back in his little tower.
Before then, when he's getting off the Ghost.
Oh, yeah.
Kanan says, you have something of mine.
Oh, yeah.
Making us think, yeah, your lightsaber.
Remember?
No, he throws in the holocron.
Well, not the lightsaber. I guess he gave it back to him.
Oh, yeah, he did. Wait. No, it is the holocron. It is the holocron. I'm sitting here going, wait, yeah, because he didn't take the lightsaber, did he?
I don't think so.
He just took the holocron.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he takes the holocron and hands it back to him, and he sees that it's opened. And that's when Hera's like, he opened it. Like, oh my gosh, like, he's force sensitive. And he arrives back to his tower, and you hear that music again, that wind effect.
Yeah.
And Ezra says, what's the force? And then you see Kanan has now appeared. So it's like he almost sensed Kanan appearing before he appeared. And then, Kanan, Freddie probably loves saying this, the line that Alec Guinness first said in New Hope, surrounds us, it binds us, penetrates us, all that stuff. And then he mentions that he can come join them and be trained in the Force.
Oh, wait, no, he does steal his lightsaber.
He does? Okay.
Right before he gets off, I just remember before they land on Lothal. The ship kind of rocks a little bit, and he grabs it from his belt.
Okay. I remember that part.
Yep.
I always thought he grabbed it from.
So that part, when he's talking to Ezra, he says, you can keep the lightsaber you stole.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Or let it become just a dusty trinket on your shelf, or you can give it back and come with me.
Okay.
And I can teach you. Yeah. Which is funny, because Kanan totally knew he took it. But so that's where I laugh at. I think you have something that belongs to you. I'm like, yeah, you just took your lightsaber, dude, and then he hands the holocron.
That's not what I wanted. Great. I know you're force sensitive, but I need my lightsaber back, dude.
Of course, Ezra says yes. But it doesn't say yes, but I think there's a moment where he appears to the Ghost Crew, right?
It says, he departs, leaving Bridger time to think, and returns to the quarters aboard the Ghost. Once there, Kanan opens the holocron and plays the full message from Obi-Wan. Which is great by having James Arnold Taylor come back from Clone Wars and do that little message about, do not return to the temple, that time is past, and in time a new hope will emerge. Again, tying everything back into what will become a new hope.
New Hope, yeah. And what I love about that way, it's, of course, James Arnold Taylor delivered it so beautifully, and one of the I get teary-eyed thinking about it. One thing that always gets me of that line is
his animation.
His animation when he says, and in time a new hope will emerge. He looks up. I don't know why it gets me, but it does. Like, there's hope in the darkest times. There's always hope.
And the fact that Kanan kept that says a lot about Kanan, too. I don't know if he gave him comfort, or it's a tie to a past he originally probably wanted to forget about, or but yeah, it was interesting that Kanan had kept that holocron.
And we close the episode with Kallus and the Inquisitor when he tells him he's encountered a group of rebels, and he tells him that one of them had a lightsaber. And of course the Inquisitor, who you find out later, whose whole job is to hunt down Jedi, is like, well, you need to hunt this guy down. So it kind of sets up the if you know, the ABC scene at the beginning.
Yeah.
We didn't have that.
Yep.
So this would have been our first introduction to the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the villain of the story. And that's how the episode closes.
And I do like how it ties back to, again, it wouldn't make much sense if you didn't have that prologue with Vader, when he talks about this hunt for the children of the Force, which I think is continuing legacy through Kanan, who's a Jedi survivor, now to Ezra, who's Force sensitive, but is kind of naive about the whole world of the Force and Jedi and all of that. But yeah, which part do you like better, part 1 or part 2?
I really like part 1.
Yeah.
Just the setting up of the characters, just, I don't know, the way it's written out. Like, I like part 2 is okay. It's more action heavy.
Yeah.
I think, which to me, most people say, oh, I didn't like part 2 better. But
Yeah.
part 1 for me, just because of the characters, the way they're introduced.
Yeah. I agree. I think I like part 1. I do think that sometimes it can lead to more heavy exposition, but I think, again, that's needed if you don't know much about Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 10, what would you rate?
I'm going to give it 8 out of 9 Lothcats.
8 out of 9?
Excuse me, 8 out of 10
8 out of 10?
Lothcats.
Yeah, I would say 8 out of 10 Lothcats.
Because it's not perfect,
Yeah.
but again, they're having to set up not a new world, but a new characters.
Yeah. So I like how this initially is like, we're focusing on this one team of people
Mm-hmm.
and how they're going to experience the rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
Or what right now is not a rebellion, per se.
It's just kind of little set factions.
Thanks for watching Rebels Remembered Episode 2. Follow us on YouTube and SoundCloud.